Good afternoon, everyone. Just want to warn the people behind me. One of these days, I'm going to turn my back on them, and I'm going to talk to you. I don't know if it's just my family or if it's everyone's family, but in my family, there are two types of people, or there seems to be two types of people. People who are planners and people who aren't. Now, my brother, my sister, and I tend to be planners. My cousins, not so much. They're late for everything. It just drives us crazy because we say, dinner's at 5. They get there at 20 minutes of 6, and put a whole pressure on all of us. But for those people here who are planners, let me just tell you, there are 106 days left to Christmas. Start your lists now. While I love Christmas and what it means, the beginning of our salvation, this whole Christmas countdown thing started kind of as a fluke. It was a week before Christmas, and I was talking to a bunch of gentlemen, and I found out during that course of conversation, they never even thought of what they were going to get their wives for the next week. And so I thought I was going to be helpful, and I was going to let people know how many days to Christmas, because I think women deserve more than a gift from CVS. Although I have nothing against CVS if you work there, but I just think there should be a little bit more thought put into that gift. So that's how the whole Christmas countdown started, and so just deal with me, okay? But there's something else that happened around a Christmas in my life, and it had to do with my sister. Now, my sister, and you'll hear about my brother and sister many, many times throughout my course here. My sister was 15 years older than me. My brother, 13 years older than me, and then there's me. So I was the baby, but I was also the only. So just face it, I was spoiled growing up, and I admit that. But my sister lived in Detroit, Michigan. She actually lived in Dearborn Heights. She hated when I said Detroit because Detroit has a bad reputation. Dearborn Heights doesn't have much better one, but that's between them. I lived in Toledo, Ohio, so every Christmas Eve, I would drive up to visit my sister. And we would celebrate Christmas together, exchange gifts, et cetera, et cetera. Well, this happened when I was about 30 years old, 28 or 30. Drove up to Michigan, got to my sister's apartment, pulled out the presents from my car and went up there. I sat down and I was getting ready to hand her the gifts, and she said, "Michael, I just need you to sit down because I need to talk to you." I said, "Okay." She didn't look happy. I said, "What's going on?" She said, "Michael, do you remember what you said to me when you were 15 years old?" I'm 30 now. That was 15 years ago. This is where I realized that women don't forget anything. And I said, "No, I don't know what I said to you 15 years ago." And the tears started coming down her eyes. And she set up this scenario for me. We were in one of those brother-sister fights. And I must have said something to her that just really impacted her. She told me what it was. I don't remember for the life of me now what it was. But she was really offended and hurt by that. And I think we all go through those moments in our life. An offhanded comment here, an offhanded comment there. We don't pay much attention to it. But whatever I said hurt her deeply. And the clincher was when she said to me, "For these last 15 years, every time you come up here, the first thought I have are those words you said to me. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, I relive that moment." That was painful for me to hear. I can't imagine how painful it was for her. Part of me wanted to say, well, it's your fault. You need to get through this. Let go. But I saw the pain that I inflicted in her. And I realized that she was carrying this burden around with her. And it was only till after she shared it with me and I could make a heartfelt apology for not wanting to hurt her that we could both move on with our lives. I bring this story up because it is very much so the beginning of our gospel today. Jesus says, if anyone sins against you, go and tell them his fault between you and him. He doesn't say, wait till they come and apologize. Wait till they come and ask forgiveness. But you need to tell them because they might not know how much they offended you. I share the story that I shared with you many times in confession with people because I hear the devastating remarks that those flippant words can have. I have seen families been torn apart by this words and not knowing. I have heard people say to me, I'm carrying this burden with me, and they don't even know that they did this. We need to be able to tell people when they hurt us. And I know most of us here don't like confrontation. And if you do like confrontation, talk to Deacon Rick, but don't talk to me. We don't want to upset the apple cart. We want people to live in peace, and yet we carry these things with us, and they eat at us, and they cause us to be resentful, and they cause us to build walls between one another. They cause us to gossip. We don't tell the person, we tell other people. You know what they did to me? How could they? And we destroy their reputation. Jesus says, go and tell those people who sin against you what they're doing. Let them know. Help bury the burden. Help bear the burden. Help bury the cross. I really wish my sister would have told me 15 years earlier what I said to her so that she wouldn't have had to look at me with those thoughts every time she saw me. St. James, in his 3rd chapter of his letter, compares our tongue to the rudder of a ship. He says a small rudder will still steer a big ship. Our tongue will steer us as well. The question is it steering us towards God, or is it steering us away from God? This week, let's be conscious of the words we say to make sure that we are affirming people, not tearing them down, that we help them carry their burdens, not give them more weight to carry. God is good. We just need to make sure that we don't take the grace he gives us and squander